Coming up on this episode of Design to the Nines, I'm going to show you how I took this feature wall from this to this. If that sounds good to you, stay tuned. Welcome to Design to the Nines. I'm Natalie Callahan, and if this is the first time we're meeting, welcome to my channel. If you like learning about DIY and home decor, then I'd invite you to consider subscribing to my channel below and turning the bell notifications on, because I bring weekly tutorials on these topics and I would love it if you joined me. Now, on this week's episode, it's the Girls Can Use Power Tools Challenge. I love this challenge. It's just in the effort to empower women to feel comfortable using power tools. So if you like the idea of ladies using power tools, type girl power in the comment section below. Now, this month's co-host is Jessica from Measure and Mix. She has an amazing channel full of great DIY ideas, and to boot, she's just a really nice person. So after you're done watching my episode, I'd invite you to pop on over to Jessica's channel, check it out, tell her I say hello. Now, when we first moved into this house, it was just so vanilla. There was like nothing going on. So to have a big impact without spending a ton of money, I did an e-cut stenciled wallpaper wall. If you haven't checked out that episode, I'll put the link above as well as below, and you can check out how I did this process. So in my last month's Girls Can Use Power Tools Challenge, I installed a new backsplash in my kitchen. I love it. If you haven't seen that episode, you really ought to check it out. Because I installed that beautiful backsplash and being in such close proximity, now it's become a little busy. So we're gonna do away with this wall for now. I have something really awesome in mind to replace this wall that I think you're gonna love. It uses power tools. So what I'm gonna be doing is installing a floor to ceiling board and batten wall. I'm really excited about it because it's going to give me a lot of flexibility with my decor. Seasonally and year-round, it's going to be a lot of fun, but because of the texture and dimension of it, it's also going to pack a design punch. So let's break out the power tools and get started. Okay, so we've cleared everything out and we are ready to start our board and batten wall. My walls are heavily textured in an orange peel, so that does not work well with batten board walls. So I kind of debated back and forth what direction to take this wall, how to resolve this problem. I could just leave it alone and just go with it and just have a textured wall underneath my board and batten, but that didn't work for me. I wanted it smooth, I wanted it crisp and nice. Then I considered doing a skim coat across it and trying to smooth out the orange peel texture. But I thought time-wise, that would take a lot of time. So after weighing all of my options, this is what I came up with. I am going to be using Masonite. This is a product that when I was younger, I actually danced on this and it was my dance floor. It actually does well for that. But we're going to be installing it on the walls. So my next problem was that my walls are over 8 feet and these come in 4 by 8 foot sections. And so that's not quite tall enough to meet my ceiling. So what I've decided is I'm going to put a seam right up top and I'm going to cover that with trim, so stay tuned to see how I'm going to resolve that. So I've seen some tutorials where people leave in the existing baseboard to save a little money, save a little time. For me personally, I don't like that idea because then you have to kind of angle off the bottom, and for me it does not look like a finished complete look. So we're going to be removing our baseboards. The way you're going to want to do that is by scoring where the baseboard meets the wall. And so then after we do that, then we're going to simply take a putty knife, take a hammer and kind of hammer that down in and we'll pull it off. All right. That might be a 2-person job. I'm 5'2". This is a little bit big and it's a little bit flimsy, but we'll see what we got. Okay, so we're gonna need to cut this down a little bit to fit right underneath the doorbell. So we're gonna have to break out our circular saw. There's some male construction workers working hard over there. let's show them that ladies can use power tools too. We have set up a makeshift work table, which I've used 2 sawhorses and a couple of sheets of plywood because this stuff is actually pretty flimsy. We are actually just going to go ahead and use my circular saw for this part. And for the cutouts, we're going to use a drill and a jigsaw. So remember, safety first, always cover your eyes. Also, if you've got sensitive ears, you could consider doing earplugs. And then I'm just going to take my circular saw here and get it all lined up, and then we are going to start our cut. All right, so now we need to mark for the outlets, and I've got my little cheat sheet here to help me out. And we are going to take our measuring tape and we're going to face it. This is going to be the top, this is going to be the bottom, or vice versa. So just pick a top and stick with it. I drill pilot holes in the corner so my jigsaw blade will fit in to make the cuts for the outlets. Our cuts are good, it fits perfectly. I love it when that happens. Measure twice, cut once. Now I'm going to share with you, hands down, my favorite power tool of all time, and that is my nail gun. I have actually done batten board with a hammer and nails, and I'm telling you, you don't want to do that. So if you're going to take this project on and you want it to go smoothly and quickly, you're definitely going to want a nail gun. Now mine's a nail gun with an air compressor. They do make nail guns that are electric and plug into the wall. So I'm going to show you how to use this. First, you're going to want to make sure it's plugged into the wall. In order to insert the hose, you're going to pull that back, stick that in there firmly, and then release it. It's kind of similar with the nail gun. You pull this back, put that in, and then release it. And we're going to turn it on. And then eventually, when it has enough pressure, it will turn off. You'll know if there's enough pressure by how far the nail drives into the wall. So if it's too much, then you turn this dial down. If it's not enough pressure, then you turn this dial this way. So I've got this ladder kind of propping this up, but we're going to make sure that this is level before we nail it to the wall because we don't want anything to get all off kilter. And it is. We know where our studs are because we marked them on the floor, and now we can go ahead and nail it into place. So we've got the bottom filled in, and now we need to just fill in this top, and there's a couple of cutouts that we're going to need to make. So we just need to take some measurements. We've got our textured walls covered and they are now smooth. Now the only place where we could have a potential seam is right here. These other seams will be strategically covered with trim so you won't notice them. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little spackling and just kind of fill in this crack. And then we're going to prime it first because all the other trim pieces are pre-primed, and it will just be easier if we just prime this before we add trim. Our wall is primed and we're ready to do the actual fun trim. We're going to need to switch out our nail guns. This is a finish nailer. This is also a finish nailer, but it's got a little bit longer nail. And we're going to need that because the trim's a little bit thicker than what we were just working with. So I'm just going to simply pull this back and it pops right off because of the pressure. Put on our finish nailer that's a little bit bigger and put it on. And I'm actually going to start up top. All right, so this is how you're going to reload this. You're going to push this down and slide this back and then let it go, and then we'll just take our nails, put them inside and push this button right there, and that has them now locked and loaded. So now we need to cover this seam up and make it disappear. All right, so installing those top two were a little difficult by myself, but it worked out okay. It's time to lay out our slats. I start out by putting one in the center just left of the seam, which will be covered when we caulk it, then one on each outside edge. Then we evenly space out 2 slats inside each section. I also don't forget about the wedge section below the railing. All right, the next step is the difference between our project looking like a DIY and a professional job. You cannot skip this step. It is a must. The next thing we're going to be doing is filling in all the nail holes and sanding them down until they're smooth. And most importantly, there's inevitably going to be some wavy walls, and we are going to caulk each and every seam. That tightens everything up and really is the difference between it looking kind of so-so and like a professional job. So my board and batten wainscoting wall is done, and I am so happy with how it turned out. It's beautiful and classy. It went pretty smoothly, to be honest with you. It worked out pretty good. We used some power tools. It wasn't so scary. Let me know if you are feeling empowered to use power tools by typing girl power in the comment section below. Now, you don't have to start out with something that's intimidating to you. Start small. Start where you feel comfortable. Let me know what you think of my project as well. I'd love to hear it. Now, coming up in future episodes, I'm going to continue the wainscoting around in my living room. Not all the way up, but part of the way up the wall. And I'm going to do that after I hopefully install a new fireplace. So those are things that are coming up in the future. We've got to do things in stages. You can't do it all at once. You kind of got to do it one at a time. That way you can also work it into your budget. Now that you've watched my episode, I'd invite you to pop on over to Jessica from Measure Mix and check out her channel, check out her episode, as well as checking out all the wonderful and talented individuals participating on this playlist. I know you're going to find a lot of inspiration and ideas. If you decide to do this project or any of my other projects, make sure you hit me up on Instagram. I love to see your pictures of your projects. Just tag me in your posts. If you found value and learned something in this episode, let me know by hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel below and turning that bell notification on so you don't miss any of my episodes. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.